Minecraft has had hundreds of thousands of maps since its creation in 2009. Some of these maps have become super famous, such as the Temple of Notch, Herobrine's Mansion, and more. But today we are not going to be looking at famous maps, and we are not even going to look at recently made maps. Instead, we're going to be looking at a few Minecraft maps from all the way back in 2009 and 2010. And at the end, we will look at what makes these maps so special. And with that all being said, let us begin. The first map we'll be looking at in this video was actually a server download made sometime between late June and October 27, 2009. Since this is a server download, there's a lot to cover, so I will only go over some of the highlights. To begin, there's these really cool looking sky islands, which at the time must have been seen as very impressive given the underside detail. On the top of the islands are some villages with some very weird interiors. As you can see, there's some floating gold blocks and just some weird I don't know what this is. Is this like a ritual platform or something? I don't know. Unfortunately, signs were not added at this time, so we may never know what these houses were supposed to mean. Then there's this giant tower in the middle of the map, and this tower is absolutely gigantic, dwarfing everything around it even from a distance. And after spending 5 minutes climbing it, it gives the best view of the map, and it really must have taken a very long time to make back in 2009, but it really pays off. The view is absolutely spectacular. Outside of that, there are really some cool smaller things, such as a very old spleef arena, some rudimentary attempts at a helicopter and boat, and some really cool pixel art. But this map is most known for this photo taken of it, which was taken by a player named Nova225. And this photo would become one of Minecraft's first famous screenshots and would even be used in the Guinness World Record book. Overall, this map is a really nice snapshot into what the average Minecraft server was like at the time, and is one of the only perfectly preserved ones. Next is Bejolt's maps, which were made from May to December 2009, and they contain some of Minecraft's oldest shared maps. There's nothing too special about them as a whole. The building is either just normal attempts at building churches or houses, or really just out there, often just being nonsensical and not having any direction. That being said, one of these maps has a really important part of Minecraft's history that is lost, and that is these 3x3 trees. This was Notch's first attempts at making trees, but less than 5 days later it was changed to what we have now. The versions that had these 3x3 trees are lost today, so the only remnant of this era of Minecraft are a few videos in this world. Overall, a really interesting part of Minecraft's history, but without any signs or anything describing what's going on, it's just pretty much impossible to understand. To close out 2009, I'm going to be showing off 3 smaller maps. The first one is Death by Sand, which was released on December 3rd. This map is really weird since it's either Minecraft's first challenge map or it's just a test of the sand falling physics. Either way, it lags the game for a few seconds and doesn't properly load in, so whatever the purpose was for it, it was good enough and it was uploaded on the internet. Then there is Castle Wars, which is also a map that was uploaded sometime in 2009. It has 2 versions, one for Capture the Flag and one for King of the Hill. This map is also really weird since there was no PvP till July 2010, and dropped items would not be fully added till the start of 2010. So either this was meant for survival tests, which I guess is possible, or this was meant to be played with some kind of rule set or mod back then. And the last map I want to showcase for 2009 is the USS Enterprise, made by Osai on July 17th. This build is important since it was one of Minecraft's first really large-scale builds, and it really spread around the community with even Notch praising it. It's one of those things that just got overlooked in Minecraft's history, but when you actually get to see it in game, you realize how much work it must have taken and just how impressive it would have been at the time in 2009. Anyways, with that being said, let us get into 2010 and in-dev phase of development. The first map to look at for InDev is called Notchgrad, started by Lucifer Z on March 5th, 2010. Notchgrad is a mega city with tens of buildings, statues, and roads. Outside of the city, there's a full-out mountain built by hand with a small village on top of it. But within Notchgrad lays 2 monumental buildings. The first one is the cathedral, which isn't absolutely massive, but it's still very big. But inside, there's a very beautifully decorated interior. And then there is the RMM Citadel, which is by far the biggest building in Notchgrad, and it dwarfs everything in the city. And you can see it just anywhere in the map. It takes a full 5 minutes to climb to the top, and once you do, you get an entire view of Notchgrad in the mountain and forest areas. Both of these builds are just incredible, both because they're simple, but they have so much grandiose to them. And I think this is one of the first projects that was really built by a build team. There was over 10 people that worked on it, so it's truly incredible. And there's also just so much more that I couldn't really talk about in this video. There's tons of other buildings, there's tons of other statues, and there's some forest areas that are just truly incredible. So if you would want to download this map and all the other maps in this video, I will leave a link to the Omni Archive Discord in the description, which will have downloads for all of the maps in this video. The first survival map in this video is C418, which was made on March 14th, 2010. This map's best quality is these two giant custom trees, and the quality of these are just really good and still hold up today. There's also a really nice underground walkway underneath the second tree. And outside of that, there's really nothing too special, but for those wondering how the map is floating, back in 2010, Notch had a floating islands world type before infinite world generation. The next map is called Glass Hall 4, which I've yet to see any date that it was made other than in early 2010, and the author is unknown. And this map is by far the weirdest in this video, since the only thing in it is this giant glass structure thing. It's not a base since there's not any chests or furnaces in it, but it must have taken a lot of effort to mine it all out and smelt all this glass. It appears to possibly have been world edited in, as the bedrock appears to be broken, but there's a nearby shack with tons of cobblestone and tools, so it could have been done by hand. Overall, it is a really weird build, and without any signs or anything else to it, it really just makes me wonder. Next up is Moonrise 05 by Yuyuki, and this map is just really aesthetically pleasing, but I'll get to that at the end. To start, this map has 4 cobblestone towers at each corner of the world, which just look very epic from afar, and climbing to the top of them gives you an incredible view of the entire map. On top of that, there are some glass enclosed walkways, which is great so you don't have to deal with mobs and you get to keep the view. And lastly, there's a few nice other areas such as this underwater greenhouse, this totem thing, I really don't even know what this is, and the center base, which has a really nice layout. But like I said at the start, this map is just for some reason incredibly aesthetically pleasing for me. The sky is a perfect shade of gray, and the way the forest and the buildings mix make the map really feel like someone is just living in the world instead of completely renovating it. This map really kind of just feels like what Minecraft was back when you were a kid and you were just like imagining like just yourself playing it. I don't know, there's really nothing else to say about it. It's like, I don't know, this kind of just feels like a memory to me. And really all of these maps are from a Minecraft era long gone, but this one really feels like a different game, just in terms of its survival and its overall feel from the Minecraft that we have now. Anyways, the next map is just called Lost Forest, and this map was built with a mod that gave unlimited blocks, and the map itself was inspired by the Lost Forest from the Legend of Zelda games. That being said, the purpose of this map and when it was made is just completely unknown. It could have been an adventure map, but if that's the case, I don't know where it starts or how to progress, and if it's just a normal creative build, then why are there areas blocked off and not finished? Either way, this map looks really good, and I think this is mainly due to the map creator turning the sky color to this nice autumn hue, and it just looks incredible coming through the leaves. Overall, not a bad map, I just have zero idea how to progress or what its purpose even is. Another map that changes the sky color to create atmosphere is Nuked, which I have zero idea when it was made or who made it, but this map is also really good. The sky color makes the map feel very ominous, and that with the style makes it one of my favorites in this video. This map just feels like a really ruined place, and it's not overdone with decoration and block variation like a lot of modern maps. It gets its message across, and it feels expansive enough to not feel two-dimensional. Overall, a really good map that has a really unique and just honest feel. The last map in this video is this one by Alexei, saved on May 10th, 2010. Now this map doesn't look that good, but it does have two things that are really impressive for the time. The first one is like Glass Hall 4, which is carving out a giant hole in the ground. And though this one seems to just be for resources, it does seem very impressive and probably was very time consuming. The other thing is the fact that Alexei drained the ocean in the middle of the map, and they would have had to do all of this without any sponges or enchanted tools. Both of these things are really incredible feats for the time, and other than that, the main base itself is okay. There's a nice walkway, but there's really nothing else too special about it. Overall, all of these maps really just give the feel of a time long gone. Their building styles and the things they built may seem very basic or weird today, but at the time, they must have been normal or even extremely impressive to some extent. However, the simplicity of 2009 and early 2010 Minecraft is different from a simple build today. They had no tutorials or even really good build techniques back then, and the way things like spleef, color changing, and more spread around back then was often just by a player joining a server and being wowed by these things in person. Then that person would look up how to do it on a form, it would go onto another server and build something similar. It's completely different from today where you can just look up tons of tutorials or download plugins that can do all of this hand placing for you. This is not saying that the builds today are not impressive, it's just that these builds from over a decade ago feel like a different game. A game where the future of it was completely unknown and was a community of less than 100,000 people. But what I think is most interesting is attempting to understand all of it today. I chose not to go into inf dev, alpha, and beta in this video since that's when signs were added and the community community exploded. So a lot of this has been just me trying to understand or just being wowed that people back then were able to do these things. It's much like how we look back on the pyramids of Egypt and Mesoamerica. It's so wildly different from how things are today or even 200 years ago, but there's still that human connection to it. It's something very few games are able to accomplish, and sadly as time goes on, these maps and forum posts disappear. And it's important to preserve as much as we can, since these maps and relics are from a different time, both in terms of Minecraft and internet culture as a whole. That all being said, if you would want a part 2 to this video, let me know. There are a lot more maps to cover, though a lot of them are really simple, but I got a few more really good ones for Classic and in-dev. And as I said before, we haven't even gotten into Alpha and Beta, so if you would want more, let me know in the comments. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, like and subscribe, and if you already are, like and share. Have a good day, and goodbye.